Ever feel like you're just stuck on autopilot, like craving a way to shake things up? Maybe boost your focus, find a new perspective.
Yeah, I get that. We're always looking for that edge, that hack to be our best selves.
Exactly. And what if I told you the answer might be found in, well, an ancient religious practice?
Interesting. You've got my attention.
Today we're going deep into one person's experience with Ramadan. But hold on, this isn't just about the religious side of things, although we'll touch on that too. It's about the unexpected benefits they found, stuff that might surprise you, especially if you're coming at it from a more Western viewpoint.
I'm all ears, especially since I know a bit about Ramadan, the fasting and all. But I'm really curious what you mean by Western viewpoint and how this all ties in.
Okay, so first things first, for anyone who needs a quick refresher, Ramadan is the ninth month in the Islamic lunar calendar. It's a time when Muslims all over the world fast, no food or drink, from dawn until sunset.
Right, a pretty intense commitment. I've always admired that level of discipline.
Absolutely. But the story we're diving into today goes way deeper than just the mechanics of it. This person actually lived this experience, and what they discovered about themselves, well, it's pretty profound.
Okay, so set the scene for us. Who is this person and what got them interested in Ramadan in the first place?
Well, they weren't raised Muslim, but get this, they had a bunch of Muslim friends, and hearing them talk about Ramadan, its significance, really sparked their curiosity. They wanted to understand, to experience firsthand what it was all about.
I see. So it's like stepping into someone else's shoes, trying to see the world through a different lens.
Yeah.
That's what we love to do here on the Deep Dive, right?
Well, got it. And trust me, their journey is full of surprises. So let's jump right in. What was that first day like for them, actually diving into Ramadan?
Well, the source material mentions a pretty big adjustment right off the bat. Imagine waking up before dawn, super early, for suhoor,
So,
right? The pre-fast meal. You got to fuel up before the sun comes up. So it's a whole new rhythm to their day, right?
yeah.
But here's where things get interesting.
Okay, I'm guessing the hunger pangs set in pretty quickly.
Oh, they were definitely there. But the source material highlights something even more unexpected. Instead of feeling drained or, like their brain was foggy, they described this incredible mental clarity, almost like a heightened sense of awareness.
Whoa, that's not what I was expecting at all. Usually you think fasting, you think low energy, right? So what was it about this experience that led to that mental sharpness?
Well, they describe it as a liberation. Like their mind was finally quiet, free from that constant chatter we all have about food.
Oh, I can totally relate to that. Like, what am I going to eat next? When's lunch? Is it snack time yet? Our lives really do revolve around food.
Right. And by taking that away, even temporarily, it's like something shifted for them. They could suddenly focus more deeply on their work, be more present, even more creative.
Okay, I have to admit, I'm starting to see the appeal. But did this shift in thinking affect anything beyond meal times? Like their daily routine?
Oh, absolutely. They talk about a conscious effort to be more intentional with their time. So instead of, say, grabbing a quick bite or mindlessly scrolling through social media, they found themselves dedicating more time to things they'd always valued but rarely prioritized. Things like reading, reflecting, even prayer.
So it wasn't just about what they were abstaining from, but about how they were choosing to fill that space. That's fascinating.
Exactly. And this really gets to the deeper meaning of Ramadan. It's not simply about physical deprivation. It's about making room for spiritual growth, for introspection.
I can see how that would be powerful. And I imagine the social aspect played a big part too. You can't talk about Ramadan without mentioning iftar, right? The meal where everyone breaks the fast together.
Oh, for sure. And they describe it as an incredibly powerful experience. They were invited to join their friends for iftar and were blown away by the whole thing.
So paint us a picture. What was it like?
Well, first off, the sheer amount of preparation that went into it. Each family brought these special dishes, creating this unbelievable spread of flavors and aromas. And the atmosphere, it was vibrant. Everyone was so excited to be together.
So not just a quick bite after a long day, huh?
Not at all. This was a celebration, a true communal experience. The source even mentions being particularly moved by the tradition of sharing food with neighbors and those less fortunate.
Ah, that's beautiful. There's such a strong sense of community and gratitude woven into the whole experience.
Right, and it made them reflect on how often meals in Western cultures can feel kind of, well, individualistic. Everyone focused on their own plate, their own conversation. But here, it's about coming together, sharing, expressing gratitude for what you have.
That's a powerful contrast. And I bet that shared experience, that discipline and spiritual reflection, creates a unique bond between people.
Absolutely. It's not just about the food. It's about breaking the fat together,
Yeah.
celebrating that collective journey. And, it's through this active participation, this immersion in a totally different way of life, that the guest's personal transformation really starts to unfold.
Okay, now you've got me hooked. Tell me more about that transformation. How did this experience actually change them? What did they discover about themselves?
That's where things get really interesting. But before we jump into that, maybe we should take a moment to talk about the different layers of prayer during Ramadan. You see, it's not just one set time, but
Hold on, before we get to all that, I'm curious about the prayer aspect. You mentioned different layers. What did you mean?
right, yeah. It's easy to think of prayer as just one thing, but in Ramadan, it takes on this whole other dimension. You have the 5 daily prayers, which are like fundamental in Islam.
Hmm.
But then during Ramadan, there are also these special night prayers called Tarawih.
Tarawih. Right.
Yeah, they're longer, often communal, and they involve reciting extended portions of the Quran.
So it's not just about, like, how often you pray, but also I guess, the depth and the intention behind it.
Exactly. And for our guest, who wasn't used to this kind of structured prayer routine, it was a huge shift. They described this growing sense of connection to something bigger than themselves, a feeling of peace that resonated even outside of prayer times.
It sounds like they kind of stumbled upon a new way to be mindful, not just through the fasting, but through this rhythm of prayer.
Yeah, like discovering a hidden doorway to a different state of being. And this awareness started to spill over into other parts of their life. They talk about being more patient in tough situations, more grateful for the little things, and even more resilient when things went wrong.
Okay, now you're getting to the heart of their transformation. Got any specific examples of how those qualities, like, actually showed up?
Oh, yeah. They described this one time stuck in traffic, which normally would have them totally stressed out. But instead of getting all worked up, they found themselves just observing their thoughts, their emotions, almost from a distance. And they realized, hey, I can't control this situation, so I might as well just accept it, focus on my breathing, something they learned during their dedicated prayer time.
So they were actually using the tools they'd gained through Ramadan to handle everyday stuff. That's pretty cool.
Right. It wasn't just a temporary thing. It was a genuine shift in perspective. And this newfound patience, it even extended to their relationships. They described listening more attentively, communicating more thoughtfully, being more supportive. They even felt a deeper sense of empathy for the people around them, no matter who they were or what they believed.
Sounds like they tapped into a wellspring of compassion that was always there, just hidden under, I don't know, the busyness of life.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And this ties back to another big part of Ramadan, charity. It's a time when Muslims are encouraged to give generously to those in need. And our guests, inspired by this, found themselves more willing to volunteer their time to help others.
It's amazing how changing one part of your life can have this ripple effect, making everything else better. Did they mention anything about how this gratitude they were feeling affected their experience?
Oh, totally. They described this heightened awareness of all the good things in their life, stuff they'd taken for granted before. Having a roof over their head, a loving family, clean water. It suddenly felt like these precious gifts. And this shift, it brought them a sense of contentment and joy that wasn't tied to external stuff.
They were retraining their brain to focus on what they had, not what they were missing.
Exactly. And this gratitude wasn't just about material things either. They found themselves appreciating nature more, the kindness of strangers, even those little moments of connection that make life so rich.
This is sounding like a total transformation, not just spiritually, but emotionally and mentally too. Did all this change how they viewed Ramadan itself?
Definitely. In the beginning, it was more about curiosity, learning about another culture. But by the end of the month, they were calling Ramadan a beautiful tradition.
Wow. That
Yeah.
says a lot, right? It's one thing to admire something from afar, but to actually live it and be changed by it, that's something else entirely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what makes their story so powerful. It shows that you don't have to be born into a certain faith or culture to appreciate its wisdom, its practices.
It's a reminder that getting out of our comfort zones, even a little bit, can open us up to all sorts of new possibilities. But before we wrap up the guest experience, maybe we should talk about the different ways Ramadan is celebrated around the world.
Yeah, you're right. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's easy to forget that Ramadan isn't just, one thing for everyone. So how did what our guests learned connect to how Ramadan is actually celebrated all over the world? Right, their experience was very personal, but it does reflect some universal themes,
Hmm.
like that focus on community and charity. That's huge in Muslim communities everywhere.
Okay, so Even though the specific customs might be different, the underlying values are the same.
Exactly. So you'll find variations in, say, the food eaten during iftar, the clothes people wear, even the prayers. But those core principles, the fasting, prayer, reflection, and charity, those stay consistent.
And this diversity is something our guest really embraced. They talk about visiting a mosque with this incredible architecture and calligraphy, seeing a street market bustling with dates and sweets, even picking up a few phrases in Arabic.
That's awesome. It shows they were really trying to understand all the different facets of Ramadan.
And it's a good reminder that exploring a new culture isn't just about watching from afar. It's about engaging with the people, the customs, all the things that make it unique.
For sure. And through those interactions, their understanding of Ramadan kept growing. They realized it wasn't just a set of rules, it was a living tradition connecting millions of people worldwide.
Like they peeled back the layers and found the real heart of the practice. Which brings us back to their personal transformation. If we had to boil their experience down to one key takeaway for our listeners, what would it be?
Hmm. I think the biggest takeaway is this. Sometimes the most amazing journeys start with just one step outside of our comfort zones. It could be exploring a new faith, trying a different cultural tradition, or even just something we've always been curious about. The potential for growth is huge.
Well said. It reminds me that life is full of surprises and that real fulfillment often comes when we push past those familiar boundaries.
Absolutely. And just like our guests discovered this wellspring of resilience, patience, and gratitude within themselves, we can too. We just got to be willing to embrace the unknown.
So there you have it, folks. Our deep dive into one Westerner's experience with Ramadan. It wasn't just about learning about this ancient practice. It was about the power of stepping outside our comfort zones, what we can discover about ourselves when we do. We hope it sparked your curiosity, giving you some food for thought.
As always, keep exploring, keep asking questions, never stop learning.
Until next time, keep diving deep.